Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is George Smith, and I'm here to bring you some of the action out on track. Of course, we're going to Raceface Season 3's calendar, starting off at Barcelona. We saw the GT4s kicking off last night here at Catalunya. And of course, this time round, I'm not by myself. I've roped in the likes of Stephen Koenig to join me in the box. Stephen, how are you doing, mate?
Absolutely amazing to be back here joining you with Raceface and round number 1 for the GT3s on a circuit that both you and I love.
Absolutely, an incredible circuit, and I'm excited to be here just doing a little audio test, hoping that everything sounds okay to our viewers. Of course, all the drivers will be joining into the server. We are running custom liveries here, so if you do see a couple of lag spikes when servers jump in or drivers jump in, that is just a little glitch in the system. But we are here in quali. We're going over for a 20-minute quali session. Jason Absmeyer is out on track. He got out of the pits early on, and he will be setting his out lap here today, or his first flying lap, should I say. He's just done his out lap, and he's already coming in with some traffic, leaving the pit box a little bit late. Luckily, he got out ahead of them, Stephen.
Now, Abshire, first out the box, once put that lap in and start putting in those incredibly quick times. As we saw in practice, he was really on the ball, but he had both Sherrod's brothers going after him. So he's got a bit of work to do, but in that White Rabbit Gaming Porsche, he's looking to be right there in the top 3. But let's see if he'll be able to maintain that going into qualifying and into the race. It's going to be a bit of a hassle, but we've got quite a star-studded racing list here. And I think the drivers have their work cut out for them.
A nice jump on board here with Jason's Porsche as he goes through that fast right-hander. It's part of the circuit where you can run wide and make some mistakes, but Jason doing a good job for now to just hold off and keep that car between the lines. He wants to try and get a banker lap in before he starts chasing down those lap times. And like you mentioned, Stephen, so many great names here today. Jason Absmeyer, Richard van Coller, Victor de Kock, Robler's here, Jason Gray's here, got the Sherrod brothers here as well. So it really is going to be a party out at Barcelona. Coming through the final chicane, Absmeyer should be our first time on the board. Give us a little benchmark for where these guys are going to be qualifying today through the final corner. Down the start finish straight, does a 143.4. So we saw these guys throwing 142s down in practice, so expect those times to drop. Van Coller going to dock himself into second at 1.2 seconds behind, but will be topped by JC Grobler, who's just 6/10 off the pace from Absmeyer for now.
JC Grobler has been putting in some massive practice trying to get right up to the top with that Audi, and also going and helping out his teammates with vehicle setups to try and pull them further up the grid. So nice to see him getting that second place and only 0.168 of a second off Jason Absmeyer. So he's really putting in those flying laps, and let's see if he'll be able to do it. But Kuman going and nailing him and taking that second place away.
Indeed he does. Sets a 143.5 to go into second place, and Cody Sherrod sets himself a 143.7 in the Cody Custard Porsche. Nothing custard about this, all murdered out in black and a little bit of matte. I'm a fan for sure. I saw Morgan McCall driving a murdered out Mercedes last night here in the GT4 class for the Raceface GT4 season that also kicked off. So of course, both seasons run on the same circuits each week. Wednesdays with the GT4s, and then on Thursdays with the GT3s. This week, obviously, Barcelona, Catalunya, the flavor of the day, and expect this man Cody Sherrod to definitely surprise some people here today. Of course, Jordan's brother and both Sherrod brothers have brought some incredible things to sim racing. Keen to see just how they fare up here. And our first Play driver also will feature on the leaderboard there. Stephen jumps into the pits, but Franco Albertine from Amped to Play.
Absolutely, and putting in some impressive times. But once again, joining with the Audi R8. He loves that car and has been using it in different series and different GT3 series that he's been participating in, and has really got the car dialed in. But let's see, now that everyone's going and putting in their faster and faster lap times, I mean, they're within a second of each other. and let's see how well he can do. Kieran Patterson, though, with the bright South African flags over it, and you can be sure that Alan Patterson is keeping a close eye from the Patterson Works team. So nice to go and see them going out there and having a ton of fun. And
Lovely looking livery indeed. Will cross the line, go up to 7th place here with a 1:44.232 coming out. Kieran Patterson getting himself onto the board into the top 10. Just a shout out there, of course, to their livery design. I'm a big fan of it, and good to see some guys putting some custom liveries out into the availability of what Raceface is doing here. We wanted people to submit some liveries through, so if you guys aren't aware of it and you're rewatching the stream, or your family members are watching and want you to have a custom car, just remember you can get something made up, and there's some more details to come with some progress on the Raceface side, with some interesting bits and pieces on that a little bit later in the week. But for now, it looks like Daniel Rose up on his time by 3/10. Scrubler's up on his time by a 10th. Junior McCall's up here as well. He's driving around in a Lambo, Stephen. So good to see a Lamborghini featuring so far up the order. Of course, the next Lambo is that of Bernard King down in 12th place. But good to see young Junior McCall up here in the order.
Junior McCall has been turning heads in the sim racing scene and driving something different to what we're used to seeing him in. And the Lambo seems to be doing pretty well around Barcelona, and has a ton of fun, and also it seems like he's got a fair amount of grip out there. I think he's going to be one of the drivers to watch out for during the race. That's my thoughts, and I'm putting my hand down on that.
So switching over to Jordan Sherritt, the 634 Porsche in the Raceface Speed Lab colors. And of course, Raceface Speed Lab, such a cool project that's been launched by Raceface. That's getting some driver training going down in the sim world. So if you want to go and have yourself some professional sim training from the likes of Jordan Sherritt or Bruno Kedili, those guys are there offering that service up. And I must just applaud Raceface again for getting in on the action. Sherritt here is going to try and set himself a lap. He's obviously struggled with a couple of cars out on track. He's given himself the space here to do so. He's given himself a lot of room coming down into the last section of the track. So I'd like to just follow him board with Jordan Sherritt. We're going to do a little ride along lap through turn 3, that quick right-hander. And of course, Jordan Sherritt in practice has been setting some insane lap times, so expect him somewhere near the top, if not in pole position, once he gets done with what he needs to do. And Jordan Sherritt, cool, calm, and collected through T4. Now into turn 5, there's a little bit of camber. You want to hold that inside apex, just as Jordan Sherritt's done right here. Then back onto the loud pedal down before getting onto the brakes, trying to stabilize the car. It's a tricky section. It goes left, then it goes right. You want to ride the curb, but not invalidate your lap time. And then again, up on the power, just kind of throw the car in, try and carry as much speed through the fast right hand as you can. Try not run too wide and invalidate your lap. Jordan Sherritt here looking like he's on a good one for the moment. Back onto the brakes so that you hit the inside apex, carry speed again through. A lot of people scrub too much power through. Then the final sector here can make or break a lap time, really. You want to keep that inside apex, let the car flow to the outside line again, throw it back in for the tough right-hander before the chicane, set the car up here so that you can drive in without having to adjust your line too many times, just twice turning in, and then back onto the power for the final corner. So Sherritt now going to go over the line. Let's see what he does. Down the start, finish straight. He will go first. He will do a 1:42.2 to 8. Which is just incredibly quick coming out here. So 1 second quicker than Jason Absma, and that's Jordan Sherritt for you. So if you want an advert for the Raceface Speed Labs, that's what you just needed.
Definitely so. I mean, and the Raceface Speed Labs also gives you that one-on-one, which I think is a great thing to do, especially for guys that are just starting out in the sim racing world. Getting that little bit of one-on-one, showing where the lines are on the circuit, where the braking markers are. Definitely rather a thing to take a look at, and an impressive time of 1:42.2, and he seems quite content about it. Ashmar going and bettering his lap time, still lying in second place, only 0.7 of a second off Sherritt's time. Oh, getting a bit sideways with the Porsche, but holding on to it. Very well driving there, but obviously just calling it quits. after
Yeah, so he
that.
betters his lap time just a little bit. It's still not enough to get up to the likes of Sherritt. Sherritt just finding 7:10 ahead of Absmai. He's got 9 minutes still to get out on track and improve his time. Of course, the Retro Sim Rainbow Audi of JC Krobler here, just behind Johan Krobler. Of course, right here we've got a little difficulty in identifying the two drivers with J and J Krobler, but one is in a McLaren, the number 15 McLaren, and one is in the number 13 Audi, and of course a very brightly colored Audi as well. 7/10 up on his lap time here. This could get him very close to getting into third or second place. If he finds a little bit more through the final sector, he's going to go over the line. He's going to jump himself up to third. So just not quite there to get up to Absmai for second, but does better himself, gets in front of Basson and now Skuman to start in third place provisionally. Things still might change up.
As we've seen, anything can happen, and these guys are putting in some awesome lap times to do it. So it's going to be something to keep an eye out for and see how tricky it is. But JC Krobler is a second off first place, so he's got a bit of work cut out for him in the race. Alden saying going and trying to pick up some pace, getting a little bit held up behind one of the cars, trying to get into the toe of that Nissan. Nice to actually see a Nissan joining us in the GT3, a car that we don't commonly see on circuit. But Altain pushing that Audi as hard as he can. The M2Play team have been working incredibly hard to try and keep their cars right up to the top. But Paul Herber going and having a lot of fun in the team Try Hard Nissan.
Well, this is the one, Stephen, that you were talking about Nissans. I thought, let me show you one that the team Try Hard guys, of course, partnered up with Resource Complete, the guys that also have sponsored Raceface. So cool to see some companies getting involved in sim racing, and cool to see the bannering all on board with the team Try Hard. Godzilla car, of course, the GTR, not something like you said we see here too often. We see him currently stacked on the grid with Victor de Kock, that number 89, sitting in 15th and 16th place. An incredibly sized grid here tonight in the Pro Division. I mean, 34 drivers currently out on track setting qualifying times, and there's 4 tiers in Raceface that have registered for Season 3 here, which I think is over 180 drivers plus minus. So just in ACC alone for GT3 side, it's been insane to see things grow. So a little shout out to all of our viewers, of course. Without you guys supporting things and helping things grow, we wouldn't get the name out there that sim racing is where it's at. It's cool to see. So thanks to everybody out there that supports us with what we do. Sometimes I feel like I'm going a little bit crazy just doing the fakey racing every night of the week and broadcasting the action, but the sanity stays when the appreciation is seen, and just watching how things have grown, watching people's driving etiquette improve, watching people's racecraft get better week after week, season after season, the development of the individual communities and how they facilitate new drivers coming in, the generosity of everybody in helping people get things done. So just a big shout out to everybody. Thanks so much for helping make this space great. Without you, it would not be possible, and without Raceface continuing to push the boundaries and expand on the way that sim racing works, it wouldn't be as beneficial. I mean, they're pushing to help get more APIs sorted out, more data through to us as commentators to try and facilitate with as much driver information as we can. But with 5 minutes left of quali, my waffling's done, Stephen. Any names sticking out to you in quali that really aren't in the right place? I feel like Cody Sherritt, 6/10 up on his lap time now, possibly out of place with where we saw his potential coming out. So maybe struggling a little bit with quali.
Now, I see a lot of, like, Fasaki down in 13th place. Usually we see him within the top 10. Junior McCall and Morgan McCall also, they within the top 10, but they're two names that I expect to be a little bit higher. And as I talk about McCall, he's off the circuit, and then Junior seems to be trying to push hard with that Lamborghini. But it's going to be interesting.
Cody will jump up to 5th place. That's more like it to see the youngster starting up there. And Cody Sheridan, the Cody Custard 338 Porsche will do so. And of course, like you mentioned, Junior McCall trying to get a little bit of toe off of that 338 and trying to get himself up. They're starting down in 10th and 11th place. Junior just behind his brother Morgan. And if we look a little bit further down the grid, I mean, we can put up the full timetable for a little bit so we can run through it. Up at the top, Jordan Sherritt, Jason Absmeyer in second, Keegan Masters third, Daniel Skuman in fourth, Cody Sherritt fifth, JC Krobler in sixth, Christos Basson in seventh, Daniel Rowe takes eighth, ninth place for Johan Krobler, 10th for Morgan McCall, 11th for Junior McCall, 12th for Kieran Patterson, Arno Visagie in 13th, Franco Albertine sits in 14th place, Brandon Kruger in 15th, Paul Kerber in 16th place, Richard van Koller in 17th, 18th for Bernard Peters, Victor de Kock 19th place, Bernard King in 20th, 21st for Ryan Ottens, Kurt Glashigan in 22nd, Etienne Klepp 23rd, Sean Schutter 24th, 25th goes to Xander Rutz, 26th to Jan Spammers. Francis Vogel starts in 27th, 28th provisionally for Mark Antle, Jason Gray down in 29th, 30th for Noah Hendricks, 31st for Arno van Mansberg, Johannes Grayling in 32nd, Adrian De Beer in 33rd, and Mike McGeer starts in 34th. So 34 drivers here, an incredible grid taking up the opportunity in the pro division here. Of course, everybody did some seeding to get here, and that means that I'm excited to see what each driver brings to the table. And if it's not up at the front, you know, there's obviously always the battle for first, second, and third. That's the one that we care about as points watchers. Of course, those are the big scoring points positions. But down in the mid-pack, you know, those battles get intense. The back of the pack gets intense. Everywhere is going to be fighting. Of course, the blue flags will be waving if people make mistakes. We're going to have to watch for some overtakes coming through. Stephen, I'm so damn excited.
No, this is definitely going to be a great thing. I'm sure a couple of people have noticed that the drivers' names they would have seen last night racing with the GT4s as well. So the guys are trying to go and race as hard as they can. And the guys are going to be working really, really hard to get out to the top. They're really trying to battle their way around. And as we take a look at Junior McCall, really pushing that Audi for ATK. Not Audi, the Lamborghini, apologies. And he's 7/10s up at the moment. Let's see if he can carry it through, try and push himself into the top 10 and get ahead of Morgan McCall. But let's see if he will be able to do it. Beautiful car, change of livery for the ATK team, and working really hard with that Lamborghini. I know they've been doing lots and lots of practice with it, trying to get that car dialed in, trying to get it to rotate just enough through the corners but not become too loose, as we've seen Lamborghinis tend to lose the rear quite quickly in some of the previous races. So let's see if he'll be able to do it. Keeping on the power. Now this is where it's all going to count. You have to send it out wide. Is it going to be enough though to get into the top 10? Unfortunately not, staying 12th position, having to work pretty hard to get back into it. And as he enters turn 1, trying not to hit all the little bits and bobs that are left over, all the bits of rubber, so he doesn't want to keep it going, but he is really trying everything he can. 50 seconds left. This is his final hurrah around the circuit. Let's see if he'll be able to hold it and try and push up. Really trying to throw that car around, keep it as stable as possible, but looking for every little gap to try and move up through the field. He's looking to get ahead of Morgan McCall. You can be sure that Morgan is busy telling him, listen, I'm ahead of you, don't worry about it. And we jump on to Keegan Masters, a name that is one to keep an eye out for, part of for G4 Sim, and his 210 stuff. So let's see, will it be enough to push him into second?
I mean, it could be enough. It could be enough. Will it be enough? 210s will go over the line. It doesn't look like that lap counted, or it did. 143.191 his last lap, 143.164 his best. So it did not count, Stephen. He had obviously invalidated it somewhere, and that's officially the end of quali. Guys out on track will be able to finish their lap times. Jordan Sherritt is still here to try and better his lap time. He has a gap of 7/10 to Jason Absmeyer from White Rabbit Gaming, the Raceface Speed Labs GTWR Esports combo team here. Of course, that's the team that Jordan drives for in the community. The 634 here, looking dashing though in the Raceface colors, I must say. He's currently not up on his lap time. He's actually 8/10 down. So let's see if we can jump to someone who is up on their lap time. It says Cody is up a 10th. but he's just lost that 10th as he enters down the straight. Nobody else. Maybe Mike McGear down in 34th place, the last position on the grid, has an opportunity to come in. And another murdered out version of a paint scheme coming down. The Black Widow Racing Griffins, an aptly named Aston Martin V8. And of course, you can just hear the roar as it goes down and grumbles down the straight. Aston Martin go burr.
Absolutely. The Aston Martins have played favour up in the GT3s, but unfortunately the qualifying ends just before he can get across the line, and Sherrod going and putting on a show for everyone, hooking it sideways. But absolutely amazing. Let's see what they're going to do in the race. Sherrod in first place, and Abschmeyer second place, Keegan Masters in third. So top three there is going to be a little bit of a busy race, I think.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I'm going to do us a little fly over the grid. Hopefully, you'll be able to read us our names as we do a little fly down the line. I've put them above the cars, so hopefully you can read them as we go.
We've got Sherrod and Abschmeyer second place, Masters and Skuman lying third and fourth. Then we've got Cody Sherrod, JC Krobler, Basson, Patterson, Rowe, Krobler, McCall, Morgan McCall and Junior McCall lining up to each other. Arno Fasaki lining up next to Albertine, De Kock, Kruger, Ferber, Van Coller, Peters, King, Ottens, Glaskin, Kleb, Schutter, Ritz, Spammers, Hendricks, Vogel, followed by Antel and Gray, von Monsberg, Johannes Kreiling, De Beer and McGregor rounding out the field. Absolutely beautiful cars there. Take a look at that train, ladies and gentlemen. Mixture, Porsches, Hondas, literally every make you can think of, except for
We've
Ford.
got them all. We've got them all here, the ones that are available, and it's going to be a fantastic race. The lights are about to go green here as our drivers will be able to begin their formation lap. We hear them start to purr and begin their starting sequence. They'll take us on their outlap, single file, of course, for this first sequence. And then we'll go over to double formation for a rolling start to get things underway for this GT3 season. Of course, Season 3 kicking off, proudly brought to you by Resource Complete and our new sponsor coming in as well, Black Ribbon Simulations, sponsoring the Sparco race gloves for the season winner. So more details on those to come later on. Make sure to follow the Raceface socials on Twitter, Raceface.Pro on pretty much all the social medias, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Things are getting underway. Things are about to get exciting. Sherrod and Abschmeyer lead us away at the front of the pack, but it's a 34-car GT3 train here that's about to get underway.
Barcelona is about to get even hotter with the action that we're going to have. And guys, watching this, you need to definitely go and subscribe and follow our YouTube channel if you want to see all the amazing action from our GT4s to our GT3s this season. And it's going to be fun, I can tell you that. Now, taking a look at this, Sherrod's got his work cut out for him. Abschmeyer is going to be dead sure to be not try and break away from it, and it's going to be right on the back of him. Albertine, lying in 14th place, has got Vasaki there, and Vasaki's going to do everything he can to maintain his position and try and push forward. He has got the Bentley, so he's got a little bit of weight to him that he's got to battle through. Ryan Ottens of Kai K Racing, glad to have him here. He was actually racing in the GT4s, had a little bit of a rough time in the GT4s, but he's looking to make up a lot of ground come the GT3s. Then we've got Sean Schutter from EKZ Motorsport going and showing off that stunning Ferrari. And let's see, lying in 24th place, he's got a bit of work ahead of him, but we've seen him pull a rabbit out of the hat, no pun intended, going forward. JC Krobler also planning to go and show his team what he can do as a Retro Sim Rainbow team. And let's see how much he can get ahead of the guys. He's been helping out with the setups of the Retro team, so let's see if he's going to make a difference. Right here at Barcelona.
36 degrees on track, a 26-degree ambient temperature here at Catalonia as our drivers get some temperature into their tires down the the back stretch of the circuit. Couple of corners left for them to go before they'll get into double formation, and we'll lead you away for the race start. An hour and 20 minutes of GT3 racing coming your way. And of course, a mandatory pit stop indicated next to the driver numbers on the driver board on the left side of the screen. The little orange number indicates that a mandatory stop needs to be made. Once it's been made within their pit window, of course, that will go green. But for now, it will be Sherritt and Absmeyer to back up the pack down into the final chicane. They will go, and this will be the first and last time they go through this slowly, this closely, as from here, the green lights are imminent. So the final corner left before the green lights go green. Sorry, the red lights go green.
70 k's an hour. Let's see. They got to hold it as we wait for the lights. And the race. Round one of Raceface. Let's see what happens.
Oh, a drive-through penalty straight away to Jason Absmeyer. He's obviously jumped the start, and that's exactly not what he wanted. He had one in the GT4 season last night to serve, and it looks like that's what's going to plague his race here today. But it is side by side with Sherritt. They will go, giving each other room coming down into turn 3. They will stay side by side. Sherritt on the inside here for turn 3 will have the advantage over Absmeyer. Absmeyer, of course, will have to serve that drive-through penalty. Down the order, it looks like Keegan Masters is also in the fray here. He's trying to go around the outside, and a little touch coming in from JC Krobler there in the Audi, but nothing too much hard done by it. Is Kieran Patterson making the charge as well here with the 1-2-3. Gonna have a little collision, and it's a double collision. Gonna collect the number 13 Audi as he goes out. We've seen a Porsche also spun off on the outskirts of the track too. So a couple of injuries taking place here on the first lap. Nothing too race ending. Morgan McCall, big off coming out. The number 12 or the number 19 has dropped back to 31st position here. So well out of the pack, well out of the order. An absolute controversy coming down on the start of this race, Stephen.
Absolutely. We did not see this coming. And unfortunately, Absmeyer is going to be kicking himself a little bit there. But he has to knuckle down and really push as hard as he can to try and make up as much ground as possible. But Stewart and Masters are having a good go at each other. Masters having to defend incredibly hard as Stewart is making it really difficult with that Porsche, trying to look up for any kink possible. Can't really go and overtake it through that last chicane, but is doing everything possible to try and see where can he pressure Keegan Masters, where can he make Keegan Masters have a mistake to move up. Absmeyer is doing that drive-through penalty, and as you can see, really dropping down the grid.
Yeah, he will do so indeed. Look how slow you have to drive through the pit. So our man starting in second place, gonna have to serve that in bleed positions. He will have to make up a lot of room, but that means that Jordan Sherritt has been allowed to get away. We saw how quick he was in qualifying, and just look at the gap that he's pulled in the opening lap. 2.9 seconds ahead of Keegan Masters in second. Daniel Skuman holds down third. Christos Besson doing great for Am to Play up into fourth place, being chased down here by Daniel Rowe. Junior McCall up into sixth place, being hunted down by Johan Krobler of Team Tryhard. Arno Versace is doing great for Retro Sim Rainbow, up into 8th place with the number 4 Bentley, being chased down by Kieran Patterson in that angry looking Porsche. And it looks like, if according to my timing sheet, Jason Absmeyer might have even dropped out of the race entirely here today, so might not even be chasing his way back through the order.
Definitely so. Kieran Patterson and Arno Versace have a long history with one another, even working with each other in an endurance race. So seeing them going and battling their way around, you can see Arno Versace having to go incredibly defensive against Kieran Patterson in that Porsche. But Kieran is really hounding him, going and putting his nose left and right, trying to force a mistake out of Arno Versace. It is a long race, so he has to make sure that he keeps it clean and doesn't want to sustain any unnecessary damage or knocks to the Porsche, because that will go and sort him out big time. Ryan Otten's having a ton of fun out there. Really
he's a lot of loose on the back end after the chicane. Glashigan was having a good close down according to the timing split, and that might even give him a good run down here to turn 1. They are going to go for the drag race. Ottens will have the outside line. It will look like Glashigan is going to get alongside, but it's all about the exit into turn 3 that really counts. So they give each other room coming in. Ottens will have the inside line then for the next part of the corner, but he will be defending then against JC Krobler. Glashigan gets the work done into turn 3. So Glashigan takes 15th place off of Krobler, now off of Ottens, and now Ottens has to try and defend against this Rainbow Audi, which looks like it has a bit of damage after that contact into turn 5 on the opening lap, and now is under attack from Noah Hendricks in that amped to play AMG.
Absolutely menacing shot there as that AMG is hunting down. As we know, JC Krobler is going to have his work cut out for him. The Audi relies a lot on frontal aero and having to work incredibly hard to keep it going. Daniel Rowe, though, leading the charge, lying in 4th place. As you can see, Morgan McCall going...
No, that's Junior.
That's Junior McCall, actually, sorry.
Yeah,
and
this is Junior, and he's trying to get himself past Basson in front. But just look at how Johan Krobler is keeping that pressure on in the TTH McLaren here, doing great work to keep McCall busy, and that's not allowing McCall to make any progress in front, and it's all benefiting Daniel Rowe. He wants these guys to get closer and closer, and just behind that shot we saw Patterson coming round chasing down Vasaki. So incredible racing coming down, everybody keeping it nice and tidy out on track, and a great bit of driver display in our pro division. So let's jump on board with Patterson here as we watch defensive driving coming out from the Bentley. He's going to hold the inside line. Patterson now going to be forced to go round the outside. He wants to try and attack. He wants to try and get himself set up for that infamous T3, carry the speed through, and he might just do this round the outside. It will be the inside line for Vasaki. That's the line that you want. A little bit of oversteer and a little bit of understeer, should I say, coming out for Patterson is going to slow down that charge. You can see how important T3 really is here at Barcelona.
Absolutely, and a big difference to what we saw last night with the GT4s, where they had a little bit of a difficult time going up and down the hill. But for these GT3s, they are really showing what they can do. You can see Kieran Patterson once again right onto the charge. Even though he lost a little bit of time, he's back in there and filling up Arno Vasaki's mirrors. Arno is having to work incredibly hard to keep the Patterson Works team car behind. As we jump on to Skuman, who is going after Keegan Masters as fast as possible, trying to get into that slipstream and get that toe and belly his way around. But,
I'm just going to go back to Patterson versus Vasaki, though. It was an inside move coming in from what I think Patterson was setting up for the last 2 laps, and that's what we get to see there. So nicely done before coming into the final sector. The Patterson Works Racing team number 1, 2, 3 will get by and get 8th position to their team name. So good bit of driving coming out, and a nice, incredibly tight, neat order as we see Albertine, the man to still keep this pressure on the back of... Who's that? Vasaki. Yes, it is Vasaki in the retro Bentley.
Definitely, he's trying to pull in the M2 team, looking to try and get side by side with the retro sim Rainbow team, managing to get past though, and cleanly. Very, very well done on the Albertine side. Now he's trying to hunt down the one and only Kieran Patterson. But right behind him though, if you take a look, we've got Peters, who is in the wings there, waiting for a mistake and starting to gain ground. So Arno Vasaki is really not having a fun time. He is going down the grid, not what he wanted. McGregor,
the Morgan McCall trying to also make his way back up. We saw him off at turn 5, also on the opening lap, and unfortunately he is now in the sort of passageway of a lot of GT3 tin tops in front. So if he wants to get by, he's going to have to find some space, and he's going to have to use all of the racecraft available to him. McGear here might lose out on the inside of turn 5. The number 19 Lambo gets back on the loud pedal nice and early. McCall makes it look seamlessly easy getting past the number 70, and will now try and get closer to Roots. So it will be Lambo on Lambo for P21. But of course, with an hour and 11 minutes of racing remaining, plenty of time for all these cars to get their positions changed up before the checkered flag will be waved.
Absolutely, and it's nice to see McGear going and cruising up through, starting right at the back of the grid, and he has made some good headway getting into the 23rd position, but he's under some serious pressure right behind with Kraling there. Oh, a bit of a rough time, as you can see. Ottens really having to try and battle his way around, and we've got Hendricks touching a little bit of dirt, but he is pushing as hard as he can, going after Cody Sherrod. But Otten's looking to go side by side, heading into turn 1. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Will the Porsche be able to do it? And unfortunately not doing so, but you can see Hendricks very late on the brakes, nearly went into the back of Cody, and losing out some serious time coming out into turn 3. Otten's in the tow, can he make it stick? Trying to look to go on the outside, carry as much momentum as possible. Hendricks going incredibly defensive in that Mercedes, and is making dead sure that the KK Racing Ryan Ottens is going to have a rough time to go around and to play.
Most definitely making use of as much track as he can to try and make up for the mistakes that he had made. The pit window will open up for our drivers to go and make their mandatory stop, so an hour of pit stops sort of strategy will be allowed here today. The guys have to go in and make that stop. Otten still wants to get past Hendricks. Hendricks just doing his best to hold off and defend. Up at the front, Sherritt running away with things. He's now 7.2 seconds up the field. The Raceface Speed Lags GTWR Esports 634 Porsche making it look like he's running a hot lap simulator out here in the field. And Daniel Skuman down the field, not having an as easy time. The DS Motorsport number 37 being chased down by Keegan Masters for G4 Sim. Round the outside, Masters will try, but he's not quite close enough to get it stick, so he's just going to settle back in and wait to see where he can set up, or at least put some pressure onto Skuman into making an error. We've seen drive-through penalties can be the plague of all drivers here, and it can definitely ruin a race when it comes down to track limits coming out. So you have to be careful not to pick those up. But a great race coming out here for what will be third place, or sorry, the potential to get second place on the podium. All three of these guys in that spot already to stand up on that podium. But Keegan Masters, as a race driver, will want to better himself and of course keep the pressure on the likes of Skuman.
Skuman is really putting up a good fight, but remember, the more they fight with each other, the more they're starting to wear down those tyres. And the pit window, since it's open, let's see how the pitting's going to go, because you can try and stay out as long as possible, risk going and losing it with your tyres being more worn out, or go in early and try and get that pit stop over and done with and gain positions while people are in the pit. So I think that's going to be one to also keep an eye out for. Jason Gray, though, under a huge amount of pressure, driving that Honda, but Cody Sherrod is ready to get past, lines up on the outside, and going to line up for the inside, hard on the brakes, managing to eke his way through. Jason Gray, unfortunately, could not fight back, and now looking to do a little bit of a comeback on Cody, but Cody has got the pace and is now starting to run away with a Cody Custard Porsche that he is driving.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Cody's down the order, he was having a great race as well. So unfortunately, both McCalls featuring a little bit lower down where they usually would be. But that's racing. This is where things happen. We watched Jason get handed out a drive-through penalty for something on the start. And unfortunately, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Of course, I would have some bias in a situation as a White Rabbit Gaming fan and not being able to see them come through. But at the end of the day, I understand that the situations are there. If there are things to be investigated, they will be looked into it post-race and to see why that was happened, I'm sure. So Egan Masters still going to try and get to Skuman. He's lost a little bit of time trying to get that chase down, but the teammates in the form of Daniel Rowe here in 4th place. So a good starting out here for the G4 Sim team indeed, holding down 3rd and 4th place, with Basson in tow in 5th, and then Junior McCall coming down in 6th place. Morgan McCall down the order, of course, and it's still a chase down for the boys in the Lambos. Let's see what's happening with Bernard Peters. He's showing up to be having a battle on his hands shortly, and that will be the likes of Visaki keeps putting the same sort of pressure on. And Stephen, do you want to give us a full rundown of the order? I'll pull up the current standings for you.
So we've got Sherrod in first place, Jordan Sherrod, followed by Skuman, Masters in third place, Daniel Rowe, Basson, McCall, Kobler. We've got Kieran Patterson lying in 8th, Albertine in 9th, Peters in 10th, followed by Arno Vasahi, who's putting immense amount of pressure behind him. Van Koller lying in 12th, hiding in the wings. We've got Etienne Kleb in 13th place, Glashkin in 14th, Cody Sherrod in 15th, Jason Gray in 16th, 17th is Ryan Ottens, followed by Vogel, Xander Rutz, Hendricks, Morgan McCall, Johannes Freiling, McGear, and Spammers are lying in 24th position. These guys are each putting in the huge amount of effort and really showing what they can do. This is actually just showing this is pros, and this is what you're going to expect. If this is the start of the season, I can't wait to see how it all goes further down into the season. A lot of these guys are putting in some huge practice for each of the races and having a lot of fun. Also, getting a bit of information from Jordan Sherrod from the Raceface Speed Labs. And as you can see, he's just running away with every lap, second after second. Daniel Rowe lying in 4th place, probably getting told by his teammate, come on, catch up to me. I need a bit of backup here. But as he does so, he is pulling Albertine up through the grid.
I mean, a little shot here of a couple of cars in the mid-pack, all in the battle for position and points. Gray followed up by Ritz in that Lamborghini, and then you've got Vogel in the Porsche with the Team Tryhard colors on it, followed up by Morgan McCall coming down for ATK. So it's, was that Hendricks here? It is, it's Morgan McCall here coming up to the back of them. So he's trying to get past. It's Hendricks who's fallen back to McCall. You see him just in the back of the shot in that number 901 AMG. Morgan McCall, of course, struggling to make his way through the pack here of drivers in front of him. And it's Jason Gray that has immense pressure on his shoulders here to hold things down. Coming up to finish lap 8, here's Xander Rutz putting all of the Lamborghini possible behind him as the Honda here tries to hold off for another lap. The tow from that Lambo is beneficial. There's going to be a pullout coming out from Gray, but it's just going to be to defend that inside line. Just stop Ritz from trying to have a little look-see on the inside. And big oversteer coming out to be controlled by Ritz at the exit of, or the middle of turn 3. That's going to cost him just a car's length or so. But of course that Lambo, under the right circumstances, absolute monster. And of course the NSX tuned to the correct direction also can be a beast in its own direction, but it will be a little manufacturer shootout, Lamborghini versus Honda NSX, which is not something you would really think would be featured out here, but here we see it. So 12 versus the number 29.
But we cannot count while these two are busy fighting it out. Vogel is licking his lips in that Porsche and is starting to gain on them as well. So this is going to be quite an interesting thing as Ritz and Grace carry on battling each other, trying to go defensive. And you can see that little Honda is doing everything, going and holding the inside line, trying to push Ritz as far out as possible. But that Team Tryhard Porsche is right up there, dives up the inside, a little bit of the oversteer.
He took too much curb on the inside line there and then sacrificed that. Had to get back under control before he loses out to the likes of McCall behind. So Ritz will hold off and it will be Jason Gray again to survive. But a nice little train coming down of cars all for position. Let's see what's happening between Peters and Vasahi. Much of the same. Peters in his Lamborghini for SRC, the number 47, holding off that number 94 Bentley, coming down into T4. Both of them getting late on the brakes. The exit from Peters was just a little bit better than what Vasahi got out of it, but you just see the pressure coming in from Vasahi. He's a quick, consistent driver. He's got that consistency better and better every league that I see him driving. He's an incredible hot lapper. I've seen him do incredible things there, and he's really got that consistency dialed in for himself, and currently sitting in 10th place, so we'll be happy to hold that. And if he can get past Peters when he makes a mistake, that's where the move will come in.
Definitely doing everything possible, trying to put as much pressure, fill up the mirrors as much as possible, and try and make it. But Basson is having to hold back the likes of Junior McCall while chasing Skuman, and he's actually doing very, very well, going and trying to catch up to his teammate. Thankfully, Masters does manage to get ahead of Skuman, but now has got the teammate of Rowe right behind him, pressuring him. So the G4 Sim team really making a lot of work here, trying to get into that top 3 before they go into the pits. So
I've got a feeling
to hold it.
I've got a feeling that these Porsches that are pushing up here are going to be munching through their tires with 36-degree tire temperature. Now a 20-minute long race, one mandatory stop to come on, but the number 37 and the number 4, that battle for third, that Skuman holds down, being chased here by that pink Porsche from Daniel Rowe for G4 Sim. The amount of pressure being put on is eating up through that limited grip that they will have. And of course, that's going to benefit guys behind. But Basson and Junior McCall have equally been doing the same sort of pace and pressure. Kieran Patterson is there to also get into this if he needs to. And then just behind them, Johan Grobler in that TTH McLaren, the number 15, just setting himself up. He's not pushing himself too hard. He's got a little bit of fresh air in front of him and behind to Peters. But if these drivers in front keep pushing themselves like they have, as Skuman again going to have a little defensive move, and it will be a collision coming in from Masters, and Masters going to have the touch coming down. So of course stewarding does take place post-race. Skuman here will drop down the order, will lose out to the likes of everybody that came through. That means that Rowe will continue his drive. He'll let that go to the stewards. Basson will be looking to have a move, and Junior McCall is there as well. Kieran Patterson is also in this, and of course Grobler just waiting for those kind of things to happen and munch up the positions. But look at this fight in the GT3s with an hour left of racing, 20 minutes done and dusted just like that, and we've still got pit stop strategies to factor in.
Absolutely, and you can be sure that Basson went and took a very deep breath as he just avoided the incident and managing to get away from it, but hoping to get in the tow. But Junior McCall being an absolute driver, trying to capitalize on it, and saw that Basson was a little bit shaken, trying to go after him, but not having a good run there. Skuman though dropping way back, and now under some serious pressure from their little Audi.
I mean, that's JC Grobler. He's a backmarker in this situation. He's obviously gone in to repair that Audi. We saw it limping around earlier. The number 13 is going to jump out of the way of this. If he can get by, he'll get by. But it is still Peters and Versace. Another camera angle just to show you that our drivers in 9th and 10th place. Peters holding off the number 94 of Versace's Bentley. Continue out. And battle down with McCall, and Gray still is there. So although McCall got past Gray hasn't made things easy for McCall, and he's just waiting for a little slip up to come out to try and take some positions off there. This Antal and Gab are also down the order fighting out, so it will be Antal in the BMW, the 111, holding off the Nissan, the number 51. Oh, it's
Absolutely.
not. It wasn't in for position. Sorry, that's just been a lap position taking place, and he's going to get out of the way to let those cars get on by. So drive through for track limits coming out to the 111, so he did not lift in doing so through there, and he's now picked himself up a track drive-through penalty on screen for that point of call. So Kieran Patterson here for Patterson Works Racing, doing some great work to just hold down for points, and he's also just settling himself in. We've still got 56 minutes of racing. Jordan Sherritt just running away. I mean, he's now 18 seconds up the field. It's this man's race pace is just disgusting. He's an alien.
Absolutely, definitely came down just to put on a show, check out what the human race is doing, reporting that 2020 was a little bit of a bust, but don't worry, he's just going to have a bit of fun with us little humans, and then he'll go back to his home planet. Go make sure your phone. But definitely looking forward to seeing some one-on-one teaching from him. And we got Daniel Rowe lying in third place, trying to go after Masters, but is having a bit of fun.
It's quite difficult for him really to make any progress here. He's just got so much pressure coming out from Basson, and of course Junior, McCall and Patterson are putting pressure on each other. That's going to give them a little bit of space if they need it, but Patterson here starting to want to line up a move on the likes of McCall again and try and get on by. So changing places in the pack. Patterson does not want to settle, never has, never will, and will continue to chase down Junior, a very young driver in the grid, and of course the youngest driver here in the Pro tier. Drives for 80k, which is massive at his age. Sometimes feels a little bit of pressure and struggles with it, but it's all part of becoming a driver and working your way through it at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Every single one of these drivers are absolute superstars, and Junior's been putting in a lot of time and effort, same as Kieran Patterson. Kieran Patterson and Alan Patterson have been really pushing to try and get the Patterson Works team right up there and push as hard as they can. Ryan Ottens of the Kai K team going and representing Kai K, lying in 16th place. Had a little bit of a bumping match around the early stages of the race, but is trying to keep it nice and clean. And now I've just got to ask, we see Daniel Rowe under pressure from Basson, but G, you drive a lot in the Porsches, in the GT3s. Now you've got 54 minutes to go. The track temperature is 35 degrees. You're wearing on your tires as much as Daniel is trying to go defensive. When you feel that it might be a good time to pit with these cars, and which are the tires to start letting go on these Porsches?
It depends really on where things have come through. Like I alluded to earlier, pushing from the get-go on a hotter track is definitely going to eat through your grip levels. I just feel that anywhere in this pack really could benefit from a pit stop. You could either undercut or, just make yourself into a little bit of a better position. You can see how spread out the grid is at the moment. If you do come out in the mid-pack, it's not really coming out into too many cars that are battling on track. So, Rowe having to go super defensive all the time against Basson. Basson feels like he potentially is losing time to Rowe. It feels like he sits behind the back of that Porsche a lot of the lap, and potentially the likes of Basson could jump into the pits, maybe get himself out of this sort of focus zone. You drive behind someone for a long time, you get a little bit blinkered in, right? And you start to lose focus of where you should be braking, because you're just making sure that you're not hitting the car behind. Is that Patterson having a look-see on McCall? It will be on the inside. They will go side by side through T5, and the Lambo going a little bit wide through the runoff, but the Porsche and Lambo are still side by side now into a tricky left and right-hander, giving each other room, doing all the right things, and it is McCall, the youngster, will hold off Kieran's move coming out of T5, and a brilliant bit of driving coming out there from Julia. Lovely stuff indeed.
Absolutely amazing, giving each other room, putting the trust in one another, but at the same time has given Probler lying in 6th place.
Oh, he's wide, and this might be his mistake, and he doesn't have really the tracks to come back on there. He just wanted to rejoin the track, and Kieran not going to give him that line to just rejoin onto, as McCall had to lift off to not gain a drive-through penalty or any advantage anyway. McCall will be shunted off in doing so there. It's, post-race stewards are there. There's incident reports for drivers to submit. So if the drivers do feel like they've lost out unfairly, they will be able to be submitted and looked into by our stewards. So Patterson now has some fresh air up in front. Patterson, It is going to be Basson on the inside here of Daniel Rowe. Like I said, he was looking like he is quicker, and Daniel Rowe making a mistake down into T1 will let the number 38 come through, but it's wide for the Audi, and it's not enough from the Porsche. They're almost following his line as well to be able to capitalize on the amount of oversteer coming out. Xander Rutz getting a drive-through penalty for track limits down in 16th place. I told you, Stephen, this was going to come.
Absolutely, and definitely what Xander Rutz didn't want to have happen to him. The amateur play guys must be going absolutely mad in their radio channel, as Basson, lying in second place, is getting right up there. But the race is not over, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about trying to get up and carry on going. But I see Keegan Masters is lying in first place.
Yeah, because it looks like Jordan Sherritt has been disconnected from the race. May have had a server issue or some internet downage. Is Cody still in this as well? Looks like Cody's dropped out as well. Both Sherritt brothers have had some kind of disaster on their side. That's absolute disaster after what Sherritt was doing. But Keegan Masters will then take over the lead of this race, and that allows for it to be a little bit of a closer race. I mean, let's be honest, Sherritt was running away with it. It's sad that he's been disconnected, and it makes me sad for everybody that has those kind of unfortunate circumstances. But Masters now potentially could be caught by Basson. There's only a 6.8 second gap between first and second here, and of course then Daniel Rowe is in tow, and you've got the likes of Patterson in fourth place, and then you've got Johan Grobler in fifth. So everybody's still out here, and all of these guys still to serve their drive-through penalties. I mean, sorry, they're mandatory stops. What am I saying? No drive-through penalties. We're not hoping for that for anybody.
Well, Xander Rutz has still got his, and he has to get into the pits to go and clear it. That's a problem, because you got your drive-through penalty and you still got your mandatory pit stop. That means twice into the pits, and that is not what you want to have. But we were talking about that this race, anything can happen. Unfortunately, the Sherritts had to, they had the problem, but hopefully they can get back in for the next round and really show what they can do. But Keegan Masters leading it out 6 seconds ahead of Basson. But Basson is having to work hard to try and keep Rowe and Patterson at bay. But Patterson is on a mission of note. But the try-hard racing McLaren of Resource Complete, it is doing very, very well. Nice to see it there. Peter's under pressure. Fasaki going and trying to do everything he can. Kleb is chasing behind him though, so keep an eye on that. Kleb is just looking to try and keep him in view, and hopefully capitalize if the two carry on duking out with each other and slow each other up. But you can see Fasaki unrelenting to Peters, getting right up there. A little bit of a nudge though, and pushing Peters. So a little bit of close contact there. Unfortunate for Peters. Hopefully he can get himself going.
Oh no, he's back. No, this is the bad place. This is where you beat your car, and he has to get himself back off track to then reverse it back around. Yes, that's the right way to get back on. Peters, unfortunately, there, contact coming out, and again, driver driving off, wants to send it to the stewards to investigate. And believe you me, the stewards this round wide are going to be a little bit more. But it is time to see the pit stops coming in. Rowe into the pits, McCall into the pits, Bazaki into the pits, Van Coller into the pits. So the pit stop lines are beginning to show. 37 minutes of pit window remain, 47 minutes of the race. Keegan Masters is your race leader.
Well, you were talking about those moments that you get so caught up behind the cars that you get those blinkers on, and you're just trying to keep it going. And unfortunately, it looks like Fasaki and Peters didn't have that coming together when it seemed like Fasaki had those blinkers on. But hopefully, Peters can try and move up and push as hard as he can. But now the pit strategies come in, as you said. Let's see how it's going to work out. Keegan Masters planning to just keep circulating, try and get as much laps in, try and get ahead of the guys as much as possible before getting into the pits. We've seen it work in the past, but it's going to be difficult to see how it goes. Basson still hanging out there in second, followed by Kieran Patterson of the Patterson Works team, lying in third place. So maybe they're going for a little bit of a later pit stop strategy. What do you think, G?
I mean, they could be. It's anybody's game as it stands. It's, you know, you can really run these cars quite late into your strategy where you need to go. It all comes down to, like I said, how those tires start to feel. And if you feel like you need to throw another set on. Guys can drive an hour, no problem. An hour and 20 minutes is possible as well. But you do start losing that grip after 50 minutes, really, of pushing really hard here in these sort of temperatures. So it will be interesting to see how they manage these. Vincalo going to pick up a drive-through penalty during his pit stop. I only think that was for speeding in the pit lane. Oh, sorry, that would be a stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit. So the drive-through there going to be for exceeding the track limits, I believe. And it looks like from first now down to 17th place will all be the guys yet to go into the pit. So everybody was pretty close for the drivers to have gone into the pit stops and then change up the order just a little bit. Of course, the guys staying out on track hold their positions.
Now, Vincalo must be kicking himself a little bit there.
The number 70 also going to pick up a speeding or pits thing, and that's Mike McGear. So McGear also going to pick up a drive-through for speeding in the pits. So it wasn't just for drive-throughs. I'm just talking rubbish sometimes.
No, definitely not what they wanted. They're going to be kicking themselves, having to keep, a lot of times you have to keep that pit limit on just a little bit longer before getting it, and you get over enthusiastic, you turn the pit limit off, you stand on throttle, and as we see, drive-through penalties not what they want, especially just coming out the pits. The frustration must be there, but now they need to go and they have to really focus on it. But McGear really pushing it as hard as he can, needs to make up a bit of ground. He's going after further, and King right in front of him in that Lambo. Kruger also trying everything as possible. As we jump to Peters in the Lamborghini, lying in 7th place of SRC, and he's got Ryan Ottens in Kai K Racing, trying to push up and go as fast as possible. Vogel is chasing him down though, but let's see if Ryan will be able to hold it. He's trying to go defensive. Vogel of Try Hard Racing, part of that Resource Complete, one of the sponsors, jumping on board with Raceface. And you can see how hard these guys are pushing to get up to the top. None of them have gone into the pits though. Ottens and Vogel still need to do the pits, so they trying to push that last little bit before getting into the pits. Maybe going for a later pit stop strategy, but we'll have to see. Ryan trying to go as defensive as possible, trying to keep it as clean as possible. Doesn't want a repeat of what happened in the GT4s, and is now seeing if his little Porsche can go as hard as it can. Vogel, though, putting immense pressure on, filling up his mirrors left and right. You can be sure that that Try Hard Racing team is going to be cheering him on, as he's really in the tow, though, calling the slipstream, trying to follow it on. As was previously mentioned, you want to get caught in the blinkers, goes on the inside, Ottens goes wide, and now it's looking to go side by side. Vogel trying to hold his ground. Ottens got a little bit of a drive. Vogel's got the inside line, goes over the curve, but Ottens carrying an immense amount of speed and is definitely gripping onto that steering wheel as tight as he can. Vogel really pushing hard, gets back into the tow, trying to pull himself with the strip seat, trying to maybe go and get a little bit of a slingshot around Ryan Ottens, but Ottens is not giving up. As we head to Jason Gray, also under some serious amount of pressure in that Honda. King chasing him down though, trying to keep him going, but you can see Gray really wants to move up through the grid.
Losing a little bit of back end again through the chicane. Maybe the tires are starting to give up a little bit early in the NSX. Maybe it was just a slight mistake in taking too much curb. But the Retro Slim NSX here did do a 157.477 as his last lap. So definitely had some mistakes in doing so, or had his pit stop factored in, I suppose. He must have had the pit stop 257. So yeah, he went in and served his pit stop. So those tires possibly just fresh and getting up to temperature then, as he comes out and holds down at 24 s provisionally. Still things to change up with guys serving their pit stops. These guys coming in early might be the kings of the day. It's all waiting for the end of the race to see where everything shapes up. That last 10 minutes really becomes the heat, but it means that Adrian De Beer will hold down 10th place in his number 11 Porsche, which is great for him. Of course, if he can just hold on to it and get some time made up, that might benefit him in the order coming down. But of course, Daniel Rowe, our front runner in terms of doing his pit stops, holds down 14th place. The number 4 G-Force Sim driver is doing what we wanted him to do in terms of picking up his pace. He's not allowing the likes of Vasaki to just close in too easily. And all these pit stops have shuffled up that battle that we saw going down from sort of 3rd to 6th place. So great bits of racing coming down. Shout out to our viewers. Shout out to our stream. I see our man Jordan here in the chat here. Jordan and Cody, I'm sure you can now tell us what happened. I feel like you got disconnected with an internet issue. You were absolutely murdering up at the front, and sad to see you fall out.
It's also fantastic to actually see it. And you know what, despite going and falling out of the race, they're joining with the stream, they're joining up with the fans, going and watching this fantastic racing and cheering on every single one of these drivers and their friends out onto the circuit. Because a lot of these guys, they've got the red mist down, they really push it as hard as they can, but the Raceface community and the sim racing community in whole is just a bunch of friends all together having a ton of fun.
Ottens
hold back Vogel though.
He does, and Ottens here needs to stay on his defensive lines, and he mustn't leave the door open like he's just done here. The inside very much opened up, but a little bit of lawnmower service coming out from Vogel in the number 5. So if you need your lawn trimmed, just send one out to the team at Tryhard number 5. He unfortunately makes it look a little bit squiggly, as he looks very squiggly out of the exit of T5 too. So yeah, Vogel here struggling a little bit, of course, still on that first set of tires. I'm sure hasn't got into the pits just yet. So just trying to make the most of this set and trying to not make silly mistakes. You know, that's where you got to focus and make sure that you conserve that race pace for the entire duration. Still 40 minutes left to go. He's doing great things in the braking zones to get back to the Kaike driver, and he'll know this. So in the braking zones, he knows he can close back down on the 64. If he can hold things a little bit closer, he'll be able to get by. But obviously, keeping in mind that if he is struggling to control his car, he's just going to be wanting to just settle down, wait for the pits, and it will be Ottens to cut the chicane, and that will be the drive-through penalty. And cheeky Ryan Ottens thinks he can cut it without lifting, and that's the pressure, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. Vogel, who was struggling with those tires, will go into the pits, and Ryan Ottens will be a big loser after all that, getting the drive-through penalty for the chicane cut.
Definitely not what he wants, and he's going to be kicking himself. Vogel, though, breathing a sigh of relief seeing that drive-through penalty as he was going into the pits. Knows that he's got a little bit of a gap to go, and now has to work hard after his pit strategy. Peter's in the pits in that Lamborghini trying to get himself sorted. Johan Probler from Resource Complete Tryhard Racing going to be heading out of the pits, taking out the 50-kilometer board. Not a big fan of the speed limit there, but is pushing.
Basson is definitely out on track on that old set of tires. You can see just on his lap times, his base lap time of 144.4. He's currently doing 145.1, so he's losing out a little bit. He's also feeling some pace, and there we go. He will go into the pits right now to go and serve that stop. That's going to allow Patterson to keep on going, and this man is definitely going for that extended pit stop strategy. He wants to stay out and try and make use of this strategy. Everybody pulling out in front of him to go into the pits is then a position that he can gain up and not have to worry about. He is going to come out here behind the number 5, who of course is down in 15th place. So Vogel will be blue flagged here. Patterson wants to get by this blue flag car as soon as possible. Vogel will be on cool brakes and tires, and Patterson will be up to his reasonable same race pace. So Vogel here not having to just jump out the way just yet. Still is going to be a nuisance to Kieran Patterson, and you can see the flashes going already from the PWSR Porsche.
Now Patterson just wants to try and get a little bit of clean air and keep going, and try and push those tires a bit more, and I think that's going to be a very, very difficult trying to thread the needle as well. Very dangerous you can take on some damage there, but the drivers all giving way, managing to get by. But Kieran Patterson really having a tough time actually getting
Well,
past
you could have you would have thought that there on the straights, Vogel would have lifted himself just a little bit, and that is a big change up coming through. It will be. I want to just try and see if I can get a replay. I might break the replay system here as we jump back. It might freeze up the stream for like a million seconds because of custom liveries, but eventually should jump back. So we should get back to see what happened here. So coming down into the braking zone, I would have thought that Vogel would have slowed down coming through. But a good run coming out from the 1, 2, 3. The number 5 then on the inside line. Yeah, just a little nudge coming out from Patterson there. Didn't get out the way. And unfortunate circumstances and a way for that to go down. I'm sure that the drivers will have something to say about that after all. Patterson will be upset that Vogel hadn't got out of the way of the blue flags, but still not what you want to see, not the way that you want to see things go down. So Vogel drops down to 17th place, loses out, I think it's just in one position. I believe Junior McCall, who is, just in front of him there. So Vogel loses out a little bit in the bigger scheme of things.
Well done for holding it though, not taking it, not going into the wall. Very tricky to actually hold the car on the grass.
Yeah, it wasn't what you wanted to see from the back marking position really on someone that would sort of be the race leader for that start. But it will be Basson to come through as Patterson's pit strategy staying out there didn't work out. He was held up by too much traffic, and it will be Basson to take the lead of the race after the pit stops. I don't know what has happened really to Keegan Masters and Daniel Rowe either. It looks like they're going to be scrapping it out, but the early pit stop coming in from Basson has worked out. Keegan Masters will come out in third in front of Aaron Patterson. So Patterson will then hold down 4th place after the pit stops come out. Schutter still to go into the pits. He's going to be in 2nd place. So he's going to be going on some very old sets of rubber.
And he's been doing very, very well keeping on that first set, but you can see getting a little bit squirrely out of the corner. And I think those tires are starting to cry out for retirement, and the new set need to be put on. But he is really doing everything he can, but he's not going to be able to hold Keegan Masters and Patterson, who are chasing him down now on a fresh set of rubber, and they're going to look at getting past. Masters getting into the toe, looking on the inside, late on the brakes, but not close enough.
Oh, it's going to be Schutter late on the brakes. I could see that coming a mile away, and he's going to go wide. That's going to allow both Porsches to come through. Not actually a bad thing for Schutter. He still needs to go in to serve that pit stop. So in that braking zone, he's going to let 2 drivers that would have taken the position off of him when he goes into the pits regardless. He just wants to make sure that he can come out, and it will be the chase to come down. Masters and Patterson are going to give us a show for the last 30 minutes. Basson is up the road a fair amount in 1st place. He's got himself a decent gap out to Masters by 4.6 seconds. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys do. A 1:45.003 coming out from Basson on that last lap. Masters, he's going to go and do a 1:44.6. So he's 4 tenths quicker than what Basson's done, and that's even with the pressure from Patterson coming out. So I'm quite keen to see how things go through. Just a little update on our chat here as well. Jordan said it's weird, his line is pretty good. Either way, it's racing in the series. It happened in ATK, I see. Yeah, Jordan, maybe just try and give the router a restart or something on that side. But it is sad to see these things happening and you dropping out. JC seems to have been heads off track, and he's out of the running here. So yeah, just a shout out to all the guys that have unfortunately had an end to their race but still come through to support the stream. I love you guys. Without you supporting it and sharing it and doing all the things, we wouldn't be able to grow sim racing in South Africa. So shout out to all of you guys, shout out to our viewers. Thanks everybody for watching.
Absolutely, our fans really making it, and the drivers also showing support for each other, and the friends out on the circuit really shows the community aspect to it. Basson though pushing hard, and if we go back to Van Coller, served a drive-through penalty and went back into the pits, lying in 13th position. So he's actually doing incredibly well and holding off Morgan McCall, though, as Morgan is all over the back of that Audi.
Indeed, he is down into T5, both of them looking neat and tidy. So even Stevens on the exit, and no position to be made up. It's actually going to be a better exit for the Audi. The number 88 gets himself a 10th before coming in through the twisty left-right hander. So good bits of driving being shown on track between drivers all across the field. Kruger and Grayling also on track for position. Kruger holding down 15th place in the murdered out Lamborghini, being chased down by that number 16 BMW of Grayling in the bananas in pajamas.
Johannes Grayling has been working hard with that BMW and has got some serious drive with it. Getting a little bit of work done by JC Krobler from the retro racing side. Daniel Rowe for G4 Sim trying to hold back Krobler, who is chasing him down from that resource complete try-hard racing. And Johannes Krobler really just putting the pressure on there, just going and reminding Rowe that he is there, and Rowe better be on top of his game. So definitely well done to the Resource Complete Try-Hard Racing team. And there we go, nice little shot we saw of Patterson having a bit of a battle. But cool, calm and collected is Daniel Rowe as he battles his way through this amazing circuit of Catalina. And very technical plus high-speed circuit. Nice to see that the Porsches aren't the absolute dominators at this. They've got a little bit of work cut out from them from different brands, such as the Audi, the Lamborghini, and the McLaren. And what do you think about it?
I mean, we had our dominant Porsche getting disconnected when he was just running away with the field. So it has opened up for a couple of other manufacturers to get a little bit of a feature. One, of course, being the Sam to play Rennsport number 38 Audi. But we do then see a field of Porsches behind it, second, third, and fourth there. And then we see our first McClizzy, our Bentley, our Aston Martin, and then another Audi in the top 10 from the same team in the form of Albertine. And then down with McCall in the first Lamborghini, and then another Porsche in the top 10 from Glashigan, who of course has just had such a clean race coming out, hasn't really had much screen time featured through the Ground Zero Racing. Number 28 Porsche has just kept his nose clean and tidy and had a really good showing so far, holding down a 10th place position. And of course for him, I'm not quite sure where he started when it came down to quali. Something that I should do is try and save a screenshot of the quali starting positions. I lose track of where all 34 of the grid start in the beginning of the race, but I do believe it was down the order. It wasn't within the top 10. And Kurt Glashigan doing such great things here, doing what he needs to do to hold down. Junior McCall is just up the road, and you know, for him, it's potentially another position if the likes of Junior McCall make those mistakes coming down. I want to see if we've got some battles down the order any further down. It looks like Grayling has gotten past the likes of Kruger and will now start to chase down Van Koller for 14.
The guys are really having to put in the work there. Masters trying to catch up to the sun. And this is M2Play, G4 Sim, and Karen Patterson Works on social media have said that there is exciting things to come, and the amount of work they've been putting in, they're definitely showing that there is exciting things to come from those three teams. Unfortunately, the race has taken its toll, having Abschmeyer also not in the mix here. Unfortunately, with that drive-through, it did put him down quite a bit, and both Sherrod brothers having the difficulty, but it's actually changed it up from the usual that we saw last season. Nice to see a mix of teams right in the front.
King going to pick himself up a drive-through penalty for Asia Racing. So with 27 left on the clock, the murdered out Lambo will have to go and serve a mandatory slow drive-through in the pits, and that's going to put him down the order a little bit further. So he was holding on to 21st when that has occurred, but that's going to shoot him down a little bit. So just talking about Christos Passon in first, his last lap time being a 1:44.673, and the last fastest lap from the man chasing him for second place being a 1:44.967. So as it stands, Christos Besson on the last lap had a little bit of pace over on Keegan Masters, but the lap before that was 4/10 going the way of Masters. So right at the end of it, it's going to be who can really put their head down. 26 minutes remain in the race. Only 3.6 seconds to second place for Besson. Will he be able to hold off on the charge from the Porsches behind him, or will he fault to the pressure? Only time will tell, and it's only 26 minutes until we find out.
No, absolutely. And the guys are really putting in the effort there. But Keegan Masters pulling at 1:43.9, and it shows that he is on a monster charge at the moment to catch up to that Audi, and has actually put a bit of a gap between himself and Kieran Patterson. And putting his head down, Masters wants that top spot. He had the taste of first place. He had that cherry, and now is looking to get back up to the top there and gain those valuable points. And what's the best way to start the season than taking that checkered flag for the first race of the season?
Yeah, it feels like a new wind has found itself into Masters' sails as he now adventures through the seas here at Barcelona. And of course, with every apex and every 10th that he does find, Besson starts to feel the heat in his seat. And with the laps just counting down for that defense for Besson to hold off, he really will be looking down at his timing sheet. He will want to keep up the pressure. He will not want to be held up by back markers that get in his way, and he has to stay cool, calm, and collected. If he doesn't, this is his race to lose. Masters is closing down. He's now just 3 seconds behind, so 2/10 have been found now in this last lap. It could be even more coming out into the final chicane. And as you see these split times coming up, you're looking away from your screen. If you've got your HUDs on and things like that, that's starting to eat up at you. You really have to push yourself to just look at the racetrack and just know what you need. So he's going to go over the line and set what was his last time here? 1:44.934 again coming out here. So that's what Keegan Masters had done previously. Masters now going to do a 1:44.2. So those times are coming down 2.5 seconds now from Masters to the leader of Besson. Patterson is just a little bit down the field too, so he's trying to just hold on to his third place, but also try and get closer to Masters. Keegan Masters right now flying out on track, and it's so exciting to see how this is going to heat up. He does go with a bit of oversteer coming down into T4. That's going to allow Patterson to get himself closer and get Besson a little bit further away.
Absolutely, and you can see Patterson really trying to put the pressure onto Masters. Masters for the G-Force Sim Racing team, and they are going to be cheering on. And the M2Play team are going to be cheering Besson on as much as possible, telling him, listen, mate, forget about everything. Put your head down. You have got an angry Masters chasing you down. Vencola still trying everything he can, going after Morgan McCall, but a little bit out of the toe there, but has got some work cut out for him. As in 15th place, still trying to make up a bit of ground to him, is Johannes Freiling, also known as Snake to his friends. And he's really trying to snake his way up through the grid.
I mean, I don't know if I would feel like my friends calling me the Snake is really a compliment, but different strokes for different folks, and if you're stroking snakes, you're going to get bitten. So Besson really putting his head down again. Masters, we saw him lose out with T4 on his previous lap. He dropped back down to a 3-second gap, but he's got it back within reach again. 2.9 seconds the delta reads as they cross the start-finish line. Masters still on the charge. He's got that space behind him to Patterson, where Patterson isn't featuring and where he needs to defend. But if Patterson does keep his head down and Masters makes those small mistakes like we saw, it can be a second on your exit of your apex on a flowing track like Barcelona. So he comes back into T4. We saw him getting oversteery here. He's not going to do so here, looking a lot more tidy on this lap, and that's what he needs to keep doing if he wants to chase down Besson. So Besson looking slow coming out of T5, almost going to be in shot is Masters. He will be. So in the background now, things start to get exciting, Stephen, because we can start to see our 3 drive leaders first, second, and third in shots and chasing each other down with 21 minutes to go.
I can tell you, I'm getting goosebumps from this because with 21 minutes, as you said, anything can happen, and it's going to be a three-way battle at this rate. As you can see, Basson is really starting to feel the heat from Masters. Masters is chomping at the bit, wanting that first place. He now sees the Audi and has got his target set on him and is going to push as hard as he can. Kerry Patterson, though, trying to hold on to the coattails of Masters. He knows what's there, and they can do it. But Basson having to go and push as hard as he can, but soon has to aggressively defend against two unrelenting Porsches to try and hold that first place. And I bet you he is begging for that checkered flag to come out. But Krobler, though...
Yeah, Johan Krobler also on the same lap as those three that we saw in front, as well as Daniel Rowe, as well as not quite Arno Visaki. So it will be Daniel Rowe and Krobler also potentially in this. If Basson has to get those defensive boots on, has to find that wide body kit for his Audi, he is going to most certainly bunch these guys back up down the order. So Rowe and Krobler might even be in this to find themselves a spot on the podium if things get scrappy or if someone makes a big mistake. And of course, pushing at these limits at this stage of the race, that's where you are on the limit. You're going to be forced potentially wide at times if you are going to be passed. If you allow someone to get their elbows next to you, you have to potentially worry about picking up one of those cheeky little drive-through penalties that we've seen being dished out like they were free flyers at a South African robot.
Well, I've got to say, if Basson wants to try, if Masters and Patterson there, if he gets defensive, he has to try and bunch Patterson and Masters to let those two battle it out to see if he can maybe pull a gap, try and bunch up Masters, Patterson, and Krobler to get the three-way battle, but he must be very careful that he can actually pull away from them, because if he starts getting into a battle like that, he's going to have a rough time. But Masters showing his true colors here, and is showing that the pink Porsche is here to be feared. As you can see on board, you can just see the glimmer of that Audi not too far away, and Patterson is hanging in the wind there. He's really doing everything he can to just try and hold on to the coattails. But Basson will have to start looking and chatting to his team and chatting to all the guys, saying, listen, what do I have to do? If I've got to go aggressive, I've got to try and bunch these guys up. And to play have known to really show what they can do. Basson's been driving very well, but Masters and Patterson have been consistently on the pace towards the end of this race.
Well, I mean, just saying that, Basson pulled out a 144.8, which was a tenth quicker than Masters did on the previous lap, but a 144.4 coming out from Patterson. So this man really starting to reel in the likes of that pink Porsche from G4 Sim in front of him, and that could potentially upset Masters' charge on towards the likes of Basson. So a 2.6 second gap being held off here by Christos Basson. Novak doing incredible things really coming into the sim racing scene. Started out on a keyboard in Project Cars 2 and absolutely dominated the lobbies that I was shoutcasting there. Eventually got set up onto a wheel, joined the A2P community, and has really been allowed to shine through, starting up in the likes of just the AM and Pro-Am rankings, making his way back up to Pro, doing a great showcase out here to sort of show everybody that sim racing is accessible to the world. You can start out and only do it for a couple of months, get into the rhythm and find yourself out leading a pro sim race. And of course, it is round 1 here for Raceface's season 3 of GT3 in ACC, and I'm so stoked that they asked me to come back. Of course, I'm joined tonight by Stephen Koenig in the comms box, and our stream is proudly sponsored by both Resource Complete and Black Ribbon Simulations, who of course providing some Sparko race clubs to the winner of the GT3 season. 6 races long every week on a Thursday. On Wednesdays, we do GT4 races at the same circuit. We kick things off at the same time. These races, an hour and 20 minutes. Of course, the GT4 season is a 45-minute sprint race with no mandatory stops, but it gives both drivers entered into GT3 and GT4 an opportunity to showcase what they're doing. So rambling aside, 2.3 seconds is the gap between Basson and Masters, and Masters and Patterson then 1.2 seconds. And this is where Patterson really needs to put his head down. 16 minutes to go. The limits of the tires, again, like I talked about, being pushed to their absolute capacity with the driving going down on track, Stephen.
I think what actually Patterson and Masters need to do is knuckle down together instead of trying to fight with one another. Follow each other, try and get into the slipstream. And remember, they've got a lot more tow together versus Basson in open air, and Basson is starting to feel it. You can see he's trying to just get as much momentum as possible, and going from a keyboard to a steering wheel, the guy's doing absolutely amazing things in sim racing. But you can be good, but you got to make sure that you get that checkered flag at the end.
I mean, Keegan Masters is a real world GTC champion. Am I right? I mean, you come from the real world side of things.
Masters has been involved in racing from go-karting and multinational champion, and getting into sim racing and showing exactly what he does in real racing. He's always in the top. He's always racing as hard as he can, and no matter what you can put him in, he gets right up there.
But I mean, it was a thing. I mean, we saw some real life drivers coming into the driving scene during lockdown and then sort of fade away when real things came away, or sort of came back again. But then you've also seen the likes of guys making that transition coming through. So the number 87 Kruger getting a drive-through penalty in 15th place. But as I was talking about, these guys that have sort of stuck around, it is a transition learning to drive from a real car into a sim. And Keegan Masters has been someone that has sort of just made his way again through the ranks. He's always sort of featured, of course, but he's really started to dial in the craft. And it's a great thing to see. So, of course, 2.1 seconds now to Basson. 14 minutes of racing remaining. Basson will definitely start to see the charge coming down. Patterson is there too. So our battle for first, second, and third in GT3 for race 1 is coming down to the wire. 14 minutes to go, Stephen. And that gap between them has now dropped to 1.8 seconds.
Now, Basson has definitely got his work cut out for him now, and he has to battle through back markers. You can see Patterson of the Patterson Works team really pushing hard on Masters, but not putting his nose in the loser's time. Instead, he's using Masters to try and push more to battle up to Basson. So very clever driving there, letting each other work through and try catch up to first place. But Basson is definitely going to be feeling heat in the kitchen from those two. We jumped on with
Schutter and Gray are fighting it out as well. Just a little battle for 20th place, of course. Oh, sorry, a battle for 20th. Yes, indeed. Gray holding that off in his Retro Sim Honda. He's actually just got past the likes of Schutter. So Schutter looking to get his position back. But I'm going to switch us back to our race leader, and that will be the likes of Basson. He's coming up to some traffic. This is not what he wanted to see, and that will be the battle that we saw in front. So that's also for position between Gray and Schutter. The NSX and Ferrari on track for position, and now getting caught up by the leader of Basson. And this is not going to work out great, because the 38 now has to try and send it on the inside of Schutter. Schutter doing the right thing, not wanting to get in the way of the race. So he sacrifices his own battle there with Gray to allow Basson to get by. Does not impede on the racing, but it's a look to the inside from Basson. He wants to do the same thing to Gray. Gray going to stay out wide and do the right thing too, letting him by, and that's allowed Schutter back into his own battle. So a battle on battle. It's battleception coming down, but it is the battle for the lead that excites me the most. Keegan Masters here on the tail of Basson, and behind him Kieran Patterson for Patterson Works Racing, and through the chicane side by side they'll go. Jason Gray doing the right thing to move out of the way, but he's now in the way of Patterson. Patterson there then just going to drive right through Gray. So Kieran Patterson now, I mean, it's got to a stage, I have to just say it, Patterson really impatient driving coming out all the time. There's not much Gray can do in that situation. He's let everybody else by, but Patterson just staying stuck in once again, spinning another drive around on track, and I can't just hold back. But to me, that just feels like it's one too many times that I've seen this happen between the 1, 2, 3. I'm sure things are going to go to the stewards regardless, but it's Keegan Masters still chasing down. Stephen, what are your feels on that?
Honestly, I think Patterson could have just backed out a little bit. Masters getting a little bit sideways there and going a bit wide, chasing after Basson. But Patterson, he could have backed out a little bit and moved across and try to get past. But driving through another car is a little bit on the, well, not a little bit, is really on the harsh side. But well done to Jason Gray, able to turn the car around, not to lose too much time. So showing off some of the drifting skills in the Honda. But he's definitely going to be very, very irritated because that has just cost him his own race. And Patterson, not a very good showing in the race for that.
Yeah, you know, racecraft-wise, you're just going to have a little say on that for sure. I think being able to just lift and avoid something like that is most certainly there. You've got the speed coming out of that final corner. You can get it done down the straights for sure. But Patterson here, 1.7 seconds now to Basson. So 10 minutes to go of the race. The Am2Play Rennsport number 38 doing a great drive to hold things off. You said it earlier, things cut out for Basson. I think things are not cut out for Basson. I think he's got a juggling match coming down. Those things that he's juggling are actually chainsaws, and for handles, they are knife blades.
Well, I have to say that is actually what it is. And I hope Am2Play is ready to play, because Masters of the GeForce Sim is really on a charge here, going after that first place. And you can see he is determined. He knows that Patterson is way behind him now. He knows that race is done. He's got one focus and one focus in mind, at Basson having to really work as hard as they can. Pit window is closed, but you can see how hard these guys are driving. And
I mean, I just wanted to quickly run down through the board before, as we go into our 10-minute updates. Basson first, Masters second, Patterson third, Krobler fourth, Rowe fifth, Versaki sixth, Kleb 7th, Albertine 8th, McCall 9th, and Vogel rounds out the top 10. Then we've got Glashigan in 11th, 12th for McCall, 13th for Van Kalla, 14th for Peters, 15th for Kraling, 16th for De Beer, 17th for Spammers, 18th for Hendricks, 19th for Schutter, 20th for Kruger, 21st for Gray, 22nd for Gerber, 23rd for King, 24th for Van Mansberg, Ottens in 25th, 26th for Antel, and 27th then for McGear, rounding things out. 34 drivers started, 27 remain, 10 minutes of racing still in this, and it is the battle on track between Basson and Masters really coming down to the wire. Morgan McCall awarded a drive-through penalty in 12th place. That's going to sting him, as he saw that happen to Jason last night, allowing him to get the win out overall. And Morgan McCall then going to have to jump into the pits to serve that. So Keegan Masters, he's lost time to Basson, Stephen. He's now 2.2 seconds down. He had that gap sort of worked out, but with 8 minutes, he's really leaving things thin.
Definitely. I think he was struggling with the tail end there, doing a 145, which is much slower than what we've seen him on. But he was maybe just feeling it a little bit, pushing a little bit too hard, getting that back to step out a bit too much. But is going back on the charge. Basson, though, just trying to do everything he can for the Am2Play. He's representing them here. I had a chat to the Am2Play guys, and Basson went and said, I've got to go for that top spot. It has to be done. And he was joking about how he came from keyboard to the steering, and he's actually turned around and said he's hoping to climb in a real race car at some point and show what he can do. And he's definitely putting on a grand show here of the Am2Play. You can be sure that the whole team is going to be cheering him on and making dead sure that he can get right up to the top there. And I'm sure that our fans in the chat are having a big amount of fun, 40 laps in, watching these guys, and unrelenting Masters right onto the back of him. Keegan Masters has been known in the racing world as an unrelenting guy. Gets up into the front every single time and battles his way through. He goes and really puts his nose in where very few dare to go. and that's why he is a multinational champion in the
Oh.
karting world and into the other sports cars.
I tell you what, Stephen, that number 18 is looking so quick through that final chicane, though. And they're going to cross over the timing split now. 1.4 seconds is the closest that Masters has been to the back of Basson. 6 minutes to go left of this race. We see a car exiting the pits, coming out into the racing line. That is going to be McCall in the number 19. He is going to move out of the way for Daniel Rowe to get by uncontested. Daniel Rowe then allowing himself to get the inside line for T3. Basson looks a little bit wide coming out of it, potentially now leaving room for Masters to get closer and closer. We do see that gap disappearing between them. It does extend out by a tenth, so Masters now 1.5 seconds behind. Basson is finding these seconds where Masters is losing them, and that's just what Basson needs. But a great showing from the amateur play team, of course, a great showing from G4 Sim, and a great showing from Patterson Works Racing so far here at the front of the order. I know that people will be wanting to see more action behind, like the likes of Albertine and McCall, the battle for 8th place that Albertine is holding off, another amateur play driver holding off. And, this is great to see, but we'll be able to see that updated. I really want to follow the action up at the front. I want to see if things get down there. I want to see if a mistake is made. 1.3 seconds between Basson and Masters. Masters is on the charge.
I think Basson at this point and Masters at this point are clenching those steerings as tight as they can, and it's actually molded to their fingers at this present moment. The first race of the season, we've seen some absolute changes for the lead, and now we are seeing some fantastic racing right towards the end with amateur play, G4 Sim, and Kieran Patterson. It looked like Kieran Patterson managing to get past and now has to really work hard to try and catch up. But Basson trying to keep it clean, trying to hit those apexes, accelerate where he needs to, try not to lose a tail end. But he is a little bit slow. Looking at T1, T2, then Masters. Masters does make a bit of time, but T3 Masters loses a serious amount of time to the Audi. The Audi gets a fantastic drive out of T3 and is really doing everything possible, looking for those micro of a second to try and gain over Masters. But what a start to the season, and I'm sure that Basson and the whole amateur play team would be really, really excited if they can clinch their first place spot in the opening race of the season. Masters for the G4 Sim have been working incredibly hard. I know the whole G4 Sim have been trying everything that they can to ensure that they're going to improve over the seasons and improve what they do. But Basson has got Masters right up his tailpipe.
He does. Oh, it's right up there. It's right up there indeed. As we see mistakes coming out perhaps from Basson. So just a half second now separating the two as we go and check the battle between Albertine and McCall. Like I said, you jump off for a second and you could potentially miss out on some of the action. Of course, after the race, guys, stay tuned for us to hear from our drivers. We've got our top 3 coming in for a driver's interview, hopefully, and we can hear from the runnings of where things stand. But till we decide who those top 3 are, let's just stay tuned. 3 minutes remain for race 1 here at the Raceface Season 3 GT3 ACC World Series. Really, it's only 6 races to go through, so it's a short season, but shortened to the point. And at the end of it all, we're going to see who comes out on top. But look at Basson. He's got his hands full right now. Masters in that number 18 is just putting the pressure on. Going to understeer a little bit coming out from T3. We've seen him make that mistake before where he loses out to the potential of Basson. But the opportunities are now here. This is where Masters needs to find a way past if he can.
I think Basson's busy telling his teammate, hit the brakes, move out the way, I can't go, you can't let me past. I think there's a lot of team communication now from the amateur play guys saying, listen, if I'm coming up behind you, move. I have got Masters chasing me down. Masters keeping it cool, keeping it calm, and putting that pressure on, but you can be sure that Basson at this very moment is swimming in his ring, trying everything possible. But
This is possibly it. This is possibly it, Stephen. He's got the run down. Where will Basson go? Basson wants to stick to the inside line. We've seen this is where you need to brake to do it. But will the cutback come in here from Masters? Masters needs to get onto the loud pedal early. But Basson putting that Audi in the right place, holds Masters back. Won't allow him through. 2 minutes on the clock to go. Only a lap and a bit, really, as we see Masters taking too much curb. That's going to kick the back end of the number 18 Porsche out, and Basson will be able to hold off. But they're coming into the chicane now, all about getting this exit perfect, and Basson is being pressured immensely here by Masters. Masters wants to get this done, but it will be a good exit coming out from Basson. Down at the start-finish straight, potentially for the last time we'll see them go. It's not yet the last lap. It will be this lap plus one more, it looks like, for us to race on out, or this potentially could be the final lap if the timer ticks down. So Masters here needs to get stuff done. He needs to get past Basson, but Basson is not allowing any of this to happen, and now we see Masters keep that inside line through T3. He stays a little bit closer down. He stays in the slipstream, Stephen.
I think Basson at this very moment is trying to bribe our guys, saying, listen, I'll pay you as much as you want. Just put that checkered flag out right in front of me at this moment, because Masters is all over the back of him. The back mark is moving out of the way, which is fantastic racing. Don't want to get involved. Kieran Patterson losing a lot of time, dropping out of it. But you can see Masters is hanging there, filling up the Basson mirrors, waiting for that mistake, trying to pressure him into a mistake. Not going to take a massive dive as yet, but Masters is very known for going and holding out to the last second, and I can promise you, in go-karting, Masters is not out until you pass that checkered flag, and Masters going on the outside, Basson going defensive on the inside. We saw there was
it's a cutback. It's the cutback potential. Yeah, Masters now has a nose in on the inside, but Basson will have the inside for the next right-hander. Wide goes Masters. He's losing the back end, but the Audi is slow coming out. Masters now right on the inside, right before the chicane. Masters with a beautiful move coming in. Patterson potentially going to benefit off this too. He needs to hold it out coming in through the chicane. He can't run wide. He can't pick up drive-through penalties. Patterson is in this too. It will be Basson to be dethroned from his first place on the final lap. It will be the race ending lap for Masters. Masters takes the line. Basson in second. Patterson takes third. Incredible racing to the line. Johan Grobler will come around the final corner to take home fourth place. What a drive coming out there from Masters to secure the win into the corner just before the final chicane. An incredible bit of driving from Basson to give the space when he saw the move coming through. And an incredible finish for our first round here. I cannot wait to get the drivers in here.
Well, I have to say one thing. Look at the top three in times. 0.2 of a second between the top three cars right until the line there. Absolutely impressive racing from these guys. Lots of hard work, and the guys really putting in the effort. Keegan Boss is taking the pole position, followed by Basson in second place, Patterson in third, Frobler fourth place, followed by Rowe, Arno Fasahi, Etienne Cliff, Junior McCall, Albertine lying in 9th, Vogel in 10th, Van Coller in 11th, Peters in 12th, Glashkin in 13th, Johannes Kraling in 14th, De Beer 15th, Spammers in 16th. We've got Morgan McCall, Hendricks, Scooter, Kruger, Paul Herb, and we got Herber in 20th. Jason Gray, unfortunately, getting driven through, finishing up in 21st position. Mr. King, Burger King, lying in the 22nd place. Absolutely fantastic. And rounding out is from Montsburg. And man, I can't wait to hear from these drivers. I'm sure there's lots of talking going on, and literally biting their nails right until the end. I think that Masters and Basson and also Kieran Patterson have to get a crowbar to pry their fingers off those steerings. I'm sure it's molded to them right at this point.
It was incredible stuff coming out. Our drivers aren't quite here ready for an interview post-race, it doesn't look like. But an incredible showing. I got a bit excited towards the end, of course. But that's just me, and that's just what these races really do, if I'm being entirely honest. So I don't apologize for any excitement shown. Stephen, from my side, it was incredible to have you here. It doesn't look like we have our drivers up. Maybe we could even get a little graphic made for the next time to interview them coming through. But to just shout out Raceface and, of course, Resource Complete and Black Ribbon Sim. Thank you guys for joining us here today. Thank you to Stephen for being my co-commentator. Massive congratulations to our entire field of drivers. A massive set of condolences to the guys that did not manage to finish up. But Stephen, thank you so much.
I've got to say, an absolute honor joining you in the box once again, and having our fantastic fans joining us for this entire race, which is absolutely awesome. But the drivers putting on a fantastic show out there, really had a ton of fun, and for an open first race of the season, I think we're in for a hell of a season, George. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Have a good evening. Have a ton of fun. We'll see you next time. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and don't miss out any of the action, as next week we're going to be hitting you with the GT4s and GT3s.
Yeah, before we Stephen signs us out there, guys, thanks again for joining us. Like I said, Wednesdays and Thursdays are Race Face nights. I'll be over at RCI doing some other commentary and stuff. So if you do want to follow me on Twitter, go over to ZA_GMAX. That's where I pretty much update everything. But Wednesday nights, 8:30, we'll do some GT4. We do have Novak joining us here towards the end of the stream. I don't know if we're going to get everybody in. So I want to just apologize for us not having interviews prepared and everybody in the box ready for it afterwards. But yeah, we'll hear from everybody next week. We'll get that all lined up. Thanks so much for joining us. See you next week.